Nick Saban. Let's start with the king himself. Nick Saban is basically the Bill Belichick of college football, except he actually failed miserably in the NFL first. This guy at one point was making $11.25 million a year at Alabama, has won 7 national championships, and is considered the greatest college coach of the modern era. But in 2005 and 2006, he was getting his ass kicked in Miami. The Dolphins went 15-17 under Saban. That's not just bad. That's not what Miami was looking for from someone of his caliber. He couldn't handle NFL players who didn't have to listen to him, couldn't recruit his way out of problems, and definitely couldn't adapt his college system to grown men making millions. The guy who would later build a dynasty at Alabama was basically run out of Miami after 2 seasons. Here's the kicker. Nick Saban actually lied to the media about staying with the Dolphins, then bolted for Alabama anyway. Smart move because he went on to win 6 more national titles. But those 2 years in Miami, they proved that college greatness doesn't always translate. Steve Spurrier. The head ball coach was untouchable in college. Steve Spurrier won the 1966 Heisman Trophy as a player, then came back as a coach and absolutely dominated. He led Florida to the 1996 National Championship, won 6 SEC titles, and revolutionized offensive football with his fun and gun attack. Then he tried the NFL with Washington in 2002 and 2003. Disaster doesn't even begin to cover it. Spurrier went 12-20, looked completely lost, and resigned before his contract was even up. NFL players didn't care about his college pedigree. His offensive system got picked apart by professional coordinators, and his cocky attitude didn't play well with veterans. The man who once hung 50 points on teams for fun couldn't even manage a winning record in the pros. He tucked his tail between his legs and went back to college where he belonged. Chip Kelly. This one might hurt the most because Chip Kelly was supposed to be the future. At Oregon, Kelly created one of the most innovative and explosive offenses college football had ever seen. His up-tempo spread attack was catching teams completely off guard, and he was the hottest coaching candidate in America. The Philadelphia Eagles hired him in 2013, and for one season, it looked like genius. The Eagles won the NFC East in his first year. Then, everything fell apart. Kelly's college system got figured out. His personality clashed with NFL players, and he started making personnel decisions that destroyed the roster. After 3 seasons, he was fired. The 49ers gave him another shot in 2016. He went 2-14. This is a guy who was averaging 12 wins a season at Oregon. The NFL chewed him up and spit him out so hard that he went crawling back to college at UCLA. He has since moved into the coordinator ranks, winning a national championship last year at Ohio State, and most recently returned to the NFL with the Las Vegas Raiders as their offensive coordinator. Lou Holtz. Lou Holtz is a college football Hall of Famer and one of the greatest motivators in sports history. He coached 6 different college teams over nearly 4 decades, won the 1988 National Championship at Notre Dame, and finished with 249 career wins. The guy was a master at getting college kids to run through walls for him. But in 1976, he tried coaching the New York Jets. 3-10. That's it. Holtz was so miserable and so overmatched that he resigned before the season even ended. NFL players didn't need his rah-rah speeches. They needed actual game plans and professional coaching. Holtz couldn't provide either. The man who could inspire 18-year-olds to play their hearts out couldn't get grown men to respect him. It was a humbling experience that sent him right back to college, where he stayed for the rest of his career. Bobby Petrino. Few college coaches have a resume that compares to Bobby Petrino, and let's not talk about that motorcycle incident. This guy has won over 100 games, led Louisville to a Big East championship, and developed a coaching tree that includes guys like Mike Zimmer and Jonathan Gannon. He's known for high-powered offenses and turning programs around quickly. His NFL stint with the Atlanta Falcons in 2007, let's just pretend it never happened. Petrino went 3-10, looked completely overwhelmed, and then did something that still pisses people off. He quit mid-season to take the Arkansas job. He didn't even finish his first year. The guy literally abandoned his team to go back to college. That's not just failing in the NFL, that's failing with zero class or professionalism. Petrino proved he couldn't handle the pressure, couldn't coach NFL players, and couldn't even stick around long enough to see if he could figure it out. Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin's NFL disaster happened before he became a college star, but it's still worth mentioning because of how spectacularly he failed. The Oakland Raiders hired him in 2007 when he was just 31 years old, making him the youngest head coach in modern NFL history. He went 4-12 in his first season, then got fired just 4 games into his second year after starting 1-3. Raiders owner Al Davis called Kiffin a liar and a disgrace to the organization. That's not just getting fired, that's getting publicly humiliated by your own boss. The crazy part, Kiffin has actually become a pretty good college coach since then. He's had success at Ole Miss recently, proving that sometimes the timing and the fit just aren't right. But those Raiders years were brutal. Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer might be the most spectacular NFL flameout in recent memory, and that's saying something. This guy won 3 national championships, 1 at Florida and 2 at Ohio State. He was considered one of the greatest college coaches of all time, a master motivator who could get players to buy into his culture completely. Then came Jacksonville in 2021. What a disaster. Meyer lasted exactly 13 games before getting fired mid-season. 13 games. But it wasn't just the losing, though going 2-11 certainly didn't help. It was everything else. Meyer got caught on video at a bar with a woman who wasn't his wife, had multiple reports of clashing with NFL players who didn't respect his college-style authority, and allegedly kicked his own kicker during practice. NFL veterans don't put up with that kind of amateur-hour personality stuff. The guy who once commanded total respect from college kids couldn't even get professional players to take him seriously. The Jaguars fired him before he could even finish his first season. That's not just failing. That's failing so spectacularly that your own organization can't wait to get rid of you. Kliff Kingsbury. Kliff Kingsbury was supposed to be the offensive genius who would revolutionize the NFL. At Texas Tech, he was putting up insane numbers with his air raid offense, and he had this reputation as a quarterback whisperer who could develop talent. The Arizona Cardinals were so impressed they hired him straight from college in 2019. For a while, it actually looked like it might work. Kingsbury's first season wasn't terrible, and he seemed to be developing Kyler Murray into a legitimate NFL quarterback. But then the wheels came off completely. By his 4th season, the Cardinals were a mess. Kingsbury's offense got figured out by NFL defensive coordinators, his play calling became predictable, and the team started collapsing in the second half of seasons. The Cardinals fired him after going 4-13 in 2022, and honestly, it probably should have happened sooner. The guy who was averaging over 35 points per game in college couldn't even field a competent NFL offense. Turns out there's a big difference between confusing college kids and trying to outsmart professional defensive coordinators who make millions to stop you. Matt Rhule. Matt Rhule's NFL story is particularly painful because he actually had legitimate college success at multiple stops. He turned around Temple, then did the same thing at Baylor after their program got destroyed by scandal. The guy knew how to rebuild programs and develop players, which made him an attractive NFL candidate. The Carolina Panthers gave him a 7-year, $62 million contract in 2020. They were so convinced he was the answer that they basically handed him a blank check. What they got instead was 2.5 seasons of pure mediocrity. Rhule went 11-27 with the Panthers before getting fired partway through the 2022 season. His college system didn't translate. He couldn't develop NFL quarterbacks the way he developed college kids, and his motivational style fell flat with professional players. The Panthers were so desperate to get rid of him that they ate most of his contract just to make him go away. The kicker? Rhule went back to college at Nebraska and immediately started showing signs of his old success. Some coaches are just built for one level, and the NFL proved that Rhule wasn't built for the pros. Schiano. Greg Schiano's NFL stint was short, brutal, and memorable for all the wrong reasons. At Rutgers, he was a miracle worker who turned a historically awful program into something respectable. He was known for his intense, disciplined approach and his ability to get players to overachieve. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers hired him in 2012, thinking his college intensity would translate to the pros. Instead, they got 2 years of chaos. Schiano went 11-21, but the record doesn't even tell the whole story. His college-style practices were too intense for NFL veterans. His motivational tactics backfired, and he lost the locker room almost immediately. There were reports of players openly questioning his methods, veterans skipping meetings, and the entire organization becoming dysfunctional. The Bucs fired him after just 2 seasons, and Schiano's reputation was so damaged that he had trouble finding another job for years. The guy who commanded total respect from college players couldn't get NFL veterans to take him seriously. His intense, rah-rah approach that worked with 19-year-olds just pissed off grown men making millions of dollars. Dennis Erickson. Dennis Erickson might be the most underrated college coaching legend who got absolutely destroyed in the NFL. This guy won national championships at Miami in 1989 and 1991, building one of the most dominant dynasties in college football history. We're talking about Miami teams that were loaded with future NFL Hall of Famers, guys like Warren Sapp, Ray Lewis, and Michael Irvin. So naturally, the NFL came calling. The Seattle Seahawks hired him in 1995, thinking they were getting a proven winner who could handle professional athletes. What they got instead was 5 years of mediocrity and frustration. Erickson went 31-33 with the Seahawks from 1995 to 1998. His high-powered college offenses became predictable in the pros, and he struggled to adapt his system to the speed and complexity of NFL defenses. After getting fired by Seattle, he tried again with the San Francisco 49ers in 2003 and 2004, going 9-23 over 2 seasons. Here's what's crazy. Erickson went back to college and immediately started winning again at Oregon State and Arizona State. The problem wasn't that he forgot how to coach, it's that college coaching and NFL coaching are completely different jobs. The guy who built one of the greatest dynasties in college football history couldn't even manage a winning record with professional players. Here's what's fascinating about all these failures. They follow the same basic pattern. These coaches dominated in college because they could recruit better players. They could motivate 18 to 22-year-olds, and they could run systems that worked against inferior competition. But the NFL is different. In the pros, you can't just out-talent people. You can't motivate grown men with rah-rah speeches. You can't run college gimmicks against defensive coordinators who make millions of dollars to stop you. The NFL requires a completely different skill set, and most college coaches just don't have it. Subscribe for more breakdowns of sports' biggest failures and unexpected success stories. The gap between college and NFL coaching might be bigger than any other sport. These legends prove that greatness at one level means absolutely nothing at the next.